The Conqueror Worm by Edgar Allan Poe. Loyalty, Sakala night, within the lonesome latter years, an angel throne, bewind, bedined, in veils and drowned in tears, sit in a theatre to see a play of hopes and fears, while the orchestra breathes fitfully the music of these verse. Mimes, in the form of God on high, mutter and mumble low, and hither and thither fly, mere puppets they, who come and go at bidding of vast formless things that shift the scenery to and fro, flapping with all their condor wings, invisible woo. That motley drama, oh be sure, it shall not be forgot, with its phantom chased for evermore by a crowd that seeth is not, through a circle that ever returneth in to the self same spot, and much madness, and more sin and horror of the soul of the plot. But see, amid the vivid road, a crawling shape in truth, a blood-red thing that breathes from out the scenic solitude. It breathes with mortal pangs. The mimes become its food, and seraphs sob at burning fangs in human gore imbued. Out, out are the lights, out all, and over each quivering form the curtain, a funeral pall, comes down with the rush of a storm, while the angels, all pallid in one, comprising, unveiling, affirm that the play is a tragedy, man, and its hero, the Conqueror Worm. The Cask of Amontillado by Edgar Allan Poe. The thousand injuries of Fortunado I had borne as I best could, but when he ventured upon insult, I vowed revenge. You, who so well know the nature of my soul, will not suppose, however, that I gave utterance to a threat. At length I would be avenged. This was a point definitely settled, but the very definitiveness with which it was resolved preclude the idea of risk. I must not only punish, but punish with impunity. A wrong is unredressed when the retribution overtakes it redressed. It is equally unredressed when the avenged fails to make it himself felt as such to him who has done the wrong. It must be understood that neither my word nor deed had I given Fortunato cause to doubt my goodwill. I continued, as was my wont, to smile in his face, and he did not perceive that my smile now was at the thought of his immolation. He had a weak point, this Fortunato, although in other regards he was a man to be respected and even feared. He prided himself on his connoisseurship in wine. Few Italians have the true virtuoso spirit. For the most part of their enthusiasm is adopted to suit the time and opportunity to practice imposture upon the British and Australian millionaires. In paintings and gemmary, Fortunado, like his countrymen, was a quack, but in the matter of all wines, he was sincere. In this respect, I did not differ from him materially. I was skillful in the Italian vintage myself, and bought largely whenever I could. It was about dusk, one evening during the supreme madness of the Carnival season, that I encountered my friend. He accosted me with excessive warmth, for he had been drinking much. Man wore motley. He had on a tight fitting part dirty strip dress, and his head was surmounted by the conical cap and bells. I was so pleased to see him that I thought I should never have done wringing his hand. I said to him, "My dear Fortunato, you are luckily met. How remarkably well you are looking today, but I have received a pipe of what passed from Amontillado, and I have a doubt." "How? Amontillado? A pipe? Impossible! And in the middle of the carnival!" "I have a doubt, and I was silly enough to pay the full Amontillado price without consulting you in the matter. You were not to be found, and I was fearful of losing a bargain." "Amontillado. I have a doubt. Amontillado. And I'm muy satisfied them. Amontillado!" "As you are engaged, I am on my way to Lucchesi. If anyone has a critical turn, it is he. He will tell me Lucchesi cannot tell Amontillado from cherry. And yet, some fools will have it that his taste is a match for your own. Come, let us go." "Whither?" "To your boat." "My friend, no. I will not impose upon your good nature. I perceive you have an engagement. Lucchesi, I have no engagement. Come." "My friend, no. It is not the engagement, but the severe cold with which I perceive you are afflicted. The bowels are insufferably damp. They are encrusted with nitre." "Let us go. Nevertheless, the court is merely nothing. Amontillado, you have been imposed upon, and as for Lucchesi, we cannot distinguish sherry from Amontillado." Thus speaking, Fortunato possessed himself of my arm, putting on a mask of black silk, and drawing a roquelaire closely about my person. I suffered him to hurry me to my plaza. There were no attendants at home. They had absconded to make merry in honor of the time. I had told them that I should not return until the morning, and I had given them explicit orders not to stir from the house. These orders were sufficient, I well knew, to ensure their immediate disappearance, one and all, as soon as my back was turned. I took from their sconces 2 flambeaux, and giving one to Fortunato, bowed him through several suites of rooms to the archway that led into the vaults. I paced down a long and winding staircase, requesting him to be cautious as he followed. We came at length to the foot of this descent, and stood together on the damp ground of the catacombs of the Montresors. The gait of my friend was unsteady, and the bells upon his cap jingled as he strode. "The pipe. It is farther on, but observe the white wet work which gleams from these cavernous walls." He turned towards me, and looked into my eyes with 2 firmly arms that distilled the rheum of intoxication. "Nitre?" "Nitre. How long have you had a cough?" My poor friend found it impossible to reply for many minutes. "It is nothing. Come, we will go back. Your health is precious. You are rich, respected, admired, beloved. You are happy, as once I was. You are a man to be missed. For me, it is no matter. We will go back. You will be ill, and I cannot be responsible. Besides, there is Lucchesi." "Enough! The cough is a mere nothing. It will not kill me. I shall not die for a cough." "True, true. And indeed, I had no intentions of alarming you unnecessarily. But you should use all proper caution. A draught of this medoc will defend us from the damps." Here I knocked off the neck of a bottle which I drew from a long row of its fellows that lay upon the mould. "Drink," I said, presenting him the wine. He raised it to his lips with a leer. He paused and nodded to me familiarly, while bells jingle. I drink to the buried that repose around us, and I to your long life. Again to my arm, I will proceed. These bowls are extensive. The Montresors were a great and numerous family. I forget your arms. A huge human foot, Dior, in a field azure. The foot crushed a serpent rampant whose fangs are embedded in the heel. And the motto? Nemo me impune lacessi. Good. The wine sparkled in his eyes, and the bells jingled. My own fancy grew warm with the meadow. We had passed through walls of pious bones, with casks and puncheons intermingling, into the inmost recesses of catacombs. I paused again, and this time I made bold to seize Fortunato by an arm above the elbow. Nitri! See, it's grease. It hangs like moss upon the boughs, where below the river bed. The drop of moisture tickle among the bones. Come, we will go back ere it is too late. You cough. It is nothing. Let us go on. But first, another draught of the medoc. I broke and reached him a flagon of thick grape. He emptied at a breath. His eyes flashed with a fierce light. He laughed and threw the bottle upwards with a gesticulation I did not understand. I looked at him in surprise. He repeated the movement, a grotesque one. You do not comprehend? Not I. Then you are not of the Brotherhood. How? You are not of the Manson. Yes. Yes. You? Impossible. A Mason? A Mason. A sign. It is this, I answered, producing a trowel from beneath the folds of my roquelaire. You jest. But let us proceed to the Amontillado. Be it so, I said, replacing the tool beneath the cloak and again offering him my arm. He leaned upon it heavily. We continued our route in search of the Amontillado. We passed through a range of low arches, descend, pass on, and descending again, arrived at a deep crypt, in which the fullness of the air caused air thunbex rather to glow than flame. At the most remote end of the crypt there appeared another less spacious. Its walls had been lined with human remains, piled to the vault overhead, in the fashion of the great catacombs of Paris. Three sides of this inferior crypt were still ornamented in this manner. On the fourth side of the bones had been thrown down, and lay promiscuously upon the earth, forming at the point a mound of same size. Within the walls thus exposed by the displacing of the bones, we perceived a still interior recess, in deep about 4 feet, in width 3, and 8, 6 or 7. It seems to have been constructed for no special use within itself, but for merely to interval between two of the colossal supports of the roof of the catacombs, and was backed by one of their circumscribed walls of solid granite. It was in vain that Fortunato, uplifting his dull torch, endeavored to pry into the deep of the recess. Its termination to feeble light did not enable us to see. Proceed. Herein is in the Amontillado. As for Luchesi, he is an ignoramus. Interrupt my friend, as he stepped unsteadily forward, while I followed immediately at his heels. In an instant he had reached the extremity of the niche, and finding his progress arrested by the rock, stood stupidly bewildered. A moment more and I had furthered him to the granite. In its surface were two iron staples, distant from each other about 2 feet. Horizontally, from one of these depended a short chain, from the other a padlock. throwing the links about his waist. It was but the work of a few seconds to secure it. He was too much a stone to resist. Withdrawing the key, I stepped back from the recess. Pass your hand over the wall. Cannot help feeling the nitre. Indeed, it is very damp. Once more let us implore you to return. No? Then I must possibly leave you. But I must first render you all the little attentions of my power. The Amontillado! Ejaculated my friend, not yet recovered from his astonishment. True, the Amontillado. As I said these words, I busied myself among the pile of bones and which I have forespoken, throwing them aside. I soon uncovered a variety of building stone and mortar. With this material and with the aid of my trowel, I began vigorously to wall up the entrance of the niche. I had scarcely laid the first tier of the masonry when I discovered that the intoxication of Fortunato had in a great measure worn off. The earliest indication I had of this was a low moaning cry from the deep of the recess. It was not the cry of a drunk man. There was then a long and obstinate silence. I laid the second tier, and the third, and the fourth, and then I heard the furious vibration of the chain. The noise lasted for several minutes, during which, that I might hearken to it with the more satisfaction, I ceased my labors and sat down upon the bones. When at last the clanking subsided, I resumed the trowel, and finished without interruption the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh tier. The wall was now nearly upon a level with my breast. I again paused, and holding the flamebooks over the mason work, threw a few feeble rays upon the figure within. A succession of loud and shrill screams, bursting suddenly from the throat of the chained form, seems to thrust me violently back. For a few moments I hesitated, I trembled. Unsheathing my rapier, I began to grope with it about the recess. The thought of an instant reassured me. I placed my hand upon the solid fabric of the catacombs, and felt satisfied. I approached the wall, replied to the yells of him who clamored. I re-echoed. I surpassed them in volume and in strength. I did this, and the clamors grew still. It was now midnight, and my task was drawing to a close. I had completed the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th tier. I had finished a portion of the last and the 11th. There remained but a single stone to be filled and plastered in. I struggled with the weight. I placed it partially in its destined position, but now there came from out the niche a low laugh that erected the hairs upon my head. It was succeeded by a sad voice, which I had difficulty in recognizing as that of the noble Fortunato. The boy said, "A very good joke indeed. An excellent jest. We shall have many a rich laugh about it the plaza. Over our wine. The Amontillado." Yes, the Amontillado. But is it not getting late? Will not they be waiting us in the plaza? The Lady Fortunato and the rest. Let us be gone. Yes, let us be gone. For the love of God, Montresor! Yes, for the love of God. With these words I hearkened in vain for a reply. I grew impatient. I called out, "Fortunato!" No answer. I called again, "Fortunato!" No answer still. I threw a torch through the remaining aperture and let it fall within. There came forth in reply only a jingling of the bells. My heart grew sick on account of the dampness of the catacombs. I hastened to make an end of my labor. I forced the last stone into its position and plastered it up, and as the new masonry, I re-erect the old rampart of bones. Of the hull of the century no mortal has disturbed them. In pes requiescat,